The massive research vessel hung silently in Earth's orbit, its crystalline surface reflecting the blue glow of the planet below. Inside, lead researcher Tom Stevens stood straight-backed before the Galactic Council's diplomatic team, trying his best to appear calm and professional. He was the first human to ever set foot on an alien ship, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. The aliens around him looked surprisingly similar to humans in basic shape. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But that's where the similarities ended. Their skin had a pale, almost translucent quality, and their movements were slow and deliberate. They watched him with large, dark eyes that rarely blinked. You say humans regularly engage in something called jogging for pleasure. The lead diplomat, who had introduced himself as first speaker, tilted his head in confusion. His translator device hummed softly as it processed his words. "Yes," Tom replied, smiling. "Many of us run several miles each day to stay healthy. Some people even run marathons. That's about 26 miles in a single session." The room erupted in worried whispers. The aliens exchanged glances that Tom couldn't quite read. One of them, a smaller figure with silvery markings, actually backed away from him. "And this is normal." First speaker's voice had taken on an odd tone. "You can sustain such movement without rest." Tom nodded, his confusion growing. "Well, yes. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We can track prey for hours or even days, running them down until they're too exhausted to continue." The whispers turned to gasps. Several of the aliens began rapidly typing on their transparent tablets. First speaker's usual pale color had taken on a slightly greenish tinge. "And your diet?" First speaker paused, as if struggling to continue. "You consume other life forms for sustenance. We're omnivores," Tom explained, wondering why these basic facts about human biology were causing such distress. "We eat both plants and animals, though many humans choose to be vegetarian. You hunt other creatures until they collapse from exhaustion, and then you eat them." A different alien interrupted, their voice crackling through the translator with what sounded like horror. Tom was starting to feel defensive. "Well, that's how our ancestors did it. Now we have farms and your history of warfare." First speaker cut in. "The records we've gathered. Are they accurate? Your species has fought conflicts spanning your entire globe." "Yes, but we've made great progress in maintaining peace." "So your species possesses both the physical capability to pursue prey until death and the intelligence to create advanced weapons." The silvery-marked alien had moved even further away. Tom felt the conversation spiraling out of control. "Listen, I think you're getting the wrong idea. Humans are peaceful now. We want to join the galactic community." Thank you for your honesty," Researcher Stevens, first speaker, said abruptly. "We have learned much. Please wait in your quarters while we consult with the council." As Tom was led away by a nervous-looking security team, he could hear the aliens breaking into rapid, urgent conversation behind him. Through the translator, he caught fragments. Death world, apex predator, threat level, and most worryingly, quarantine protocols. In his quarters, Tom sat down heavily on his bed, his mind racing. He had come here expecting to bridge the gap between humanity and the stars. Instead, he had somehow managed to terrify an advanced alien civilization with nothing but basic human biology and history. He looked out the window at Earth below, beautiful and blue. Something told him that humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't going to go the way anyone had expected. The stars had been waiting for them, yes, but they hadn't been ready for what humans really were. As if to confirm his fears, a shimmering energy field suddenly sprang up around the ship, and new vessels began emerging from hyperspace, warships by the look of them. The quarantine of Earth was about to begin. Captain Jane Reed stood at the window of Earth Defense Fleet headquarters, watching the alien ships that now filled Earth's orbit. Their crystalline hulls caught the sunlight, creating a beautiful but terrifying display. It had been 3 weeks since the Galactic Council had announced their protective quarantine of Earth, and she wasn't buying their explanation one bit. "Captain, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Davis from his monitoring station. "We've decoded more of their internal communications." Jane walked over, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The lieutenant's screen showed translated alien text scrolling past. As she read, her hands tightened into fists. "So much for protecting us," she muttered. "They're terrified of us. Look at this threat assessment." The alien report classified humans as Category 1 apex predators and listed their disturbing characteristics: ability to recover from injuries that would kill most species, capacity to function on minimal sleep, extreme endurance, and most worryingly to the Council, aggressive problem-solving capabilities combined with pack-hunting instincts. A new message flashed across the screen. "Containment is paramount. Species shows signs of approaching FTL breakthrough. Timeline for achieving interstellar capability. Estimated 3 to 5 planetary cycles." Jane allowed herself a small smile. The aliens were right about one thing. Humanity was close to cracking faster than light travel. What they didn't know was just how close. "Ma'am," Davis said quietly, "Project Pathfinder's final test is tonight. Should we proceed with the Council watching?" "We have to," Jane replied. "They're not here to protect us. They're here to cage us. And I won't let that happen." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown even to most of Earth's governments, humanity's first FTL-capable ship was nearly ready. The Pathfinder wasn't large, just big enough for a small crew, but it represented humanity's best chance at breaking free. Jane took the secure elevator down to the testing chamber. The ship sat in its cradle, its sleek black hull absorbing the light around it. Chief Engineer Wilson greeted her with a tablet full of final checks. "The Council's ships are using some kind of quantum field for FTL," he explained. "But we found a different way. Instead of bending space like they do, we punch straight through it. They'll never expect it because they don't think it's possible." "Will it work?" Jane asked, running her hand along the ship's cool surface. "It'll work," Wilson grinned. "Humans have a way of doing the impossible." A warning light suddenly flashed red. Above them, the Council's ships were launching some kind of scanning probe. They were getting suspicious. "They're going to find us," Davis said over the comm. "The probe's sensors are stronger than anything we've seen before." Jane made her decision. "Launch now. We're not waiting for the test. Load the crew and prepare for immediate departure." Alarms blared as the chosen crew members rushed to their stations. Jane watched from the control room as the massive underground doors began to open. The Council probe was less than an hour from detecting their facility. "You know what they really fear," Jane said to her staff. "Not just our physical capabilities. They're afraid of this, our ability to adapt, to solve problems, to face the unknown. They think they're containing a dangerous animal, but they're about to learn that humanity is so much more than that." The Pathfinder's engines hummed to life, glowing with a light never before seen on Earth. Above them, the Council's ships maintained their watchful orbit, unaware that their quarantine was about to be broken not by force, but by human ingenuity. Humanity's first step into the stars wouldn't be with the Council's permission. It would be on their own terms, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what was coming. Commander Mike Foster felt the Pathfinder's hull vibrate as its revolutionary engines powered up. In the pilot's seat next to him, Lisa worked the controls with steady hands. The rest of the small crew, just 5 people in total, ran final checks on their stations. They'd trained for months, but now they'd have to get it right on the first try. "Council ships are still focused on the southern hemisphere," Lisa reported, her voice calm despite the pressure. "The solar flare will reach us in 3 minutes." Mike nodded. Their plan relied on perfect timing. The massive solar flare would blind the alien ship's sensors just long enough for them to make their move. At least, that's what they hoped. "Engineering reports ready," called James from his station. "New drive is stable. We've never run it at full power before, but the simulations say it'll hold. Simulations, Mike muttered. We're about to test an experimental faster-than-light drive while running a blockade of advanced alien warships. Just another day at the office. A few nervous laughs broke the tension. That's what Mike had hoped for. Humans worked better with a little humor, even in dire situations. Maybe especially then. The countdown timer ticked away. 2 minutes until the solar flare. The massive underground doors above them were fully open now, revealing a slice of night sky. In those 2 minutes, they needed to launch, break atmosphere, and reach their jump point. Remember, Mike said to his crew, these alien ships are built for their biology. They can't pull more than 3 Gs without their crews blacking out. We can handle a lot more than that. Yeah, Lisa grinned. Let's show them what humans can do. The timer hit 1 minute. Mike opened the ship-wide comm. All hands, secure for high-G maneuvers. This is going to get rough. The solar flare warning flashed red on their displays. Above them, the alien ships were already starting to adjust their shields to compensate. Now, Mike ordered. The Pathfinder shot upward like a bullet from a gun. The acceleration crushed them into their seats. 6 Gs, then 7. Mike's vision started to gray out at the edges, but he trained for this. The human body was capable of amazing things when pushed to its limits. They broke through the clouds in seconds. Warning signals blared as the alien ships detected them, but the solar flare was already beginning to hit. Multiple ships moving to intercept. Lisa reported through gritted teeth, but they're moving slow, trying to protect their crews from G-forces. The Pathfinder twisted and turned, pulling maneuvers that would have knocked any alien crew unconscious. Mike felt blood rushing to his head as Lisa executed a brutal corkscrew to dodge an incoming tractor beam. Jump drive spooling up. James called out. 30 seconds to ready. A warning beam from one of the alien ships sliced through the space just ahead of them. The message was clear: stop or be destroyed. But they'd expected this too. They won't fire directly at us, Mike said confidently. They're too afraid of what humanity would do if they killed a crew of our people. He was right. The alien ships were trying to box them in with warning shots, but none dared to target the Pathfinder itself. Their own fear of humanity's potential reaction was working against them. Jump drive ready, James shouted. Do it, Mike ordered. The experimental drive activated with a sound unlike anything they'd heard before. A deep thrum that seemed to vibrate the very fabric of space. The stars ahead of them stretched and twisted. The alien ships launched one last desperate volley of warning shots, but they were too late. The Pathfinder punched through space itself, leaving Earth and its would-be jailers behind. As the ship stabilized in faster-than-light travel, Mike looked at his crew's tired but triumphant faces. They'd done it. Humanity had broken free of its cage. And now, the real journey was about to begin. 3 days had passed since the Pathfinder's escape, and none of its crew had slept for more than 2 hours at a time. In the dim light of the bridge, Mike studied the star charts while drinking his 6th cup of coffee. Behind him, Lisa piloted with the same steady hand she'd shown during their escape, though her eyes were ringed with exhaustion. Contact, James called from his station. 3 Council warships just dropped out of FTL behind us. They're gaining. Mike nodded calmly. They'd been playing this game of cat and mouse for days now, but something was different this time. The Council ships were closer than ever. They'd brought in their elite pursuit force, Anna reported from communications. She'd been monitoring their transmissions. They're using stimulants to match our sleep patterns. They think they've figured us out. A slight smile crossed Mike's face. They think that's all it takes to match a human. Let's show them what real endurance looks like. The Pathfinder dove into a dense asteroid field. Normal protocol would be to go around. The risks were too high. The margins for error too small. But humans had always thrived on doing the impossible. Multiple ships now, James updated. They're trying to box us in. These pilots are better than the others. The Council ships moved with new precision, their formation designed to force the Pathfinder into a trap. They'd clearly studied human tactics and prepared countermeasures. They still don't get it, Mike said. Lisa, remember that canyon run we used to do in the simulators? The one they said was impossible. Lisa's tired face broke into a grin. The instructor said no human could process information fast enough to make those turns. Prove them wrong. The Pathfinder suddenly spun on its axis, diving between two massive asteroids spinning towards each other. The gap between them was barely wider than the ship itself. Lisa's hands flew across the controls, making micro-adjustments at speeds that would have seemed impossible to their pursuers. Warning signals blared as debris battered their shields. Two of the Council ships immediately pulled back, unwilling to risk the passage. The third tried to follow but had to retreat when its crew couldn't handle the rapid course corrections. "They're falling behind," James reported with satisfaction. "Their biology can't handle the strain. Even with stimulants, their reaction times are too slow." But Mike knew it wasn't over. "They'll adapt. That's what they fear about us, our ability to adapt. They think we'll just keep getting stronger." As if to prove his point, new signals appeared on their screens. The Council ships had called in reinforcements, lots of them. 17 ships now, Anna called out. "They're deploying some kind of energy web, trying to catch us like an animal." The irony wasn't lost on Mike. The more the Council treated humans like dangerous creatures, the more humans proved their superiority through intelligence and skill rather than brute force. "James," he called, "remember that theory you had about using the FTL drive for microjumps? The one everyone said would tear the ship apart." James looked up from his station, his exhausted face suddenly alert. "You want to try it now? We haven't tested it. The math works, but we're human," Mike finished. "And humans do the impossible." The crew shared knowing looks. They were tired, hunted, and outnumbered. But they were also proving something that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their physical endurance or their predatory past. It was their ability to push boundaries, to try the untried, to do what their hunters thought impossible. "Ready when you are," Lisa said from the pilot's seat, her hands steady despite days of minimal sleep. The energy web closed in around them as the Council ships moved for the kill. They thought they had trapped their prey. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The micro-jump had worked better than anyone expected. The Pathfinder had slipped through gaps in space that the Council ships couldn't follow, leaving their pursuers far behind. Now they found themselves in an unknown sector, their ship's systems recovering from the strain of the experimental jump. Anna's voice broke the silence on the bridge. "Commander, I found something in the data we downloaded during the escape. Ancient records, buried deep in the Council's restricted archives." Mike pushed away from his station and floated over to her screen in the low gravity. The others gathered around too, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "They've been cataloging worlds like Earth," Anna explained, scrolling through the alien text. "They call them death worlds. Planets that should be too hostile to produce intelligent life. High gravity, aggressive predators, extreme temperatures. How many worlds like ours are there?" Lisa asked. "Only 12 discovered in the last 1,000 years. And Earth." Anna paused, double-checking her translation. "Earth is classified as the most extreme. They call us Category Alpha, the deadliest world ever to produce a spacefaring species." James let out a low whistle. "That explains their fear. We're not just strong. We're literally their worst nightmare." The screen showed diagrams comparing human capabilities to other species. Human endurance was off their charts. The ability to heal from broken bones, considered fatal injuries for most species, was marked as regenerative capabilities, extreme. Even human sleep patterns were flagged as dangerous, allowing for extended combat readiness. "Look at this," Anna said, pulling up another file. "They've been watching us for centuries. They saw us survive ice ages, plagues, wars. Every time they thought we would die out, we got stronger. We adapt, Mike said quietly. That's what truly terrifies them. Not just our physical abilities, but our capacity to learn, to overcome, to turn disadvantages into strengths. A new section of data appeared, threat assessments from the Council's military command. They predicted that an uncontained human civilization would dominate the galaxy within a century, not through conquest, but through sheer unstoppable advancement. There's more, Anna continued. Other quarantine species, some have been confined to their worlds for thousands of years, all because they evolved on worlds that the Council considered too dangerous. Mike felt a cold anger building inside him. They're imprisoning species out of fear, denying them the stars because they're too strong. Wait, Lisa pointed at a flashing signal on her screen. We're picking up a transmission. It's not from the Council. A new voice came through their speakers, speaking in carefully practiced English. Pathfinder crew, if you can hear us, you are not alone. We are the others. The forgotten ones. The strong ones. We have been waiting for someone like you. The message continued, giving coordinates and recognition codes. It came from representatives of other quarantine species who had secretly established contact with each other, waiting for a chance to break free. They've been watching our escape, Anna said, reading the incoming data. Our success is giving them hope. We've proved the Council can be outsmarted, outmaneuvered. We've proved more than that, Mike said, straightening up with new purpose. We've proved that being strong doesn't mean being destructive, that being capable of violence doesn't mean being ruled by it. The crew looked at each other, understanding dawning in their tired eyes. They hadn't just escaped Earth's quarantine. They had sparked something much bigger, hope for other imprisoned species, a chance to show the galaxy that strength and peace could coexist. Plot a course for those coordinates, Mike ordered. It's time to meet our fellow outcasts. Time to show the Council that they've been wrong about all of us. The Pathfinder's engines hummed to life once more, carrying humanity's representatives toward a meeting that would change the fate of the galaxy. The hunters had become liberators, and the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter ahead. The hidden station hung in the shadow of a dark moon, far from the Council's regular patrol routes. The Pathfinder docked alongside ships of various designs, each one built in secret by species the Council had tried to contain. As Mike led his crew through the airlock, they got their first look at their fellow dangerous species. The station's gravity was Earth standard, a good sign. In the main chamber, representatives from 6 different worlds waited. Some were tall and powerfully built, others quick and agile, but all shared one thing. They came from worlds that the Council feared. A tall figure stepped forward. Her skin was deep red, and she moved with a fluid grace that spoke of high-gravity adaptation. "I am Dawn Walker of the Ridge Runners," she said in perfect English. "We've been watching your escape run. Impressive, even by our standards." Mike noticed how the others nodded in agreement. "You've all been through this. The quarantine, the containment. For centuries," another delegate spoke up. This one was shorter but broad, with thick armor-like skin. "The Council fears what they cannot control. My people, the stone shells, have been trapped on our world for 300 years. They call our physical resilience too dangerous for the galaxy." Lisa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity evident. "You've all been communicating, building ships in secret." "We had no choice," Dawn Walker explained. "The Council claims to protect peace, but they do it by imprisoning anyone they consider too strong, too resilient, too adaptable. They create the very conflict they claim to prevent." James was examining the various ships docked at the station. "These are incredible designs, each adapted to different biological needs, but all capable of outrunning Council vessels." "Yes," a new voice chimed in. This one came from a being that seemed to shift colors as it moved. "But we needed something more. We needed a species that could not only break free but show the galaxy a better way." We needed humans. What do you mean? Mike asked. You did something none of us managed, Dawn Walker explained. You escaped without killing anyone. You outmaneuvered the Council's best ships, survived their pursuit, and did it all without taking a single life. You proved that being strong doesn't mean being violent. The revelation hit Mike hard. Each of these species had their own incredible capabilities, some stronger than humans, some faster, some more resilient. But humanity's true strength wasn't just physical. Anna, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. The Council's own records show they're wrong about us. About all of us. They see teeth and claws and thick skin and assume we must be violent. They see our ability to survive and assume we must be dangerous. Exactly, the color shifting being agreed. And now, thanks to your escape, hundreds of young civilizations might be spared the quarantine. The Council's fear is being exposed. Mike looked around the room, seeing hope in eyes and expressions that were alien but filled with familiar emotions. So what's the plan? We can't fight the Council. That would just prove their fears right. Dawn Walker smiled. No, we do something much harder. We show them they're wrong. Together, we prove that strength can serve peace, that adaptability and resilience don't equal aggression. A new coalition, Lisa said thoughtfully, not built on fear like the Council, but on mutual respect. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The Council had found them, not just the Pathfinder, but the entire hidden network of quarantined species. But as Mike looked at his crew and their new allies, he didn't see fear. He saw determination. The Council was about to learn that they'd created something powerful by trying to cage the strong. They'd given them a reason to work together. Well, Mike said, a slight smile crossing his face, let's show them what real apex predators do when they work together. The time for hiding was over. The time for change had come. The Council's fleet filled the view screen, 50 ships strong, their weapons primed. But the assembled ships of the quarantined species didn't run. Instead, they formed a peaceful formation around the station. No weapons charge, no aggressive moves, just a quiet display of unity. This is Commander Mike Foster of the Earth ship Pathfinder. Mike broadcast on all frequencies. We request a meeting with the full Council. Not as fugitives, but as equals. The Council ships held position, clearly surprised by the lack of resistance. Minutes ticked by as they considered the request. Finally, the first speaker's voice came through. You have violated quarantine. You have contacted other contained species. You have. We have proved you wrong, Mike interrupted. About all of us. And now we're giving you a chance to prove us wrong about you. A murmur of surprise ran through the bridge as the first speaker's personal vessel broke formation and approached the station. Perhaps curiosity was universal after all. The meeting chamber was a study in contrasts. The Council delegation, with their pale, delicate forms, faced the representatives of the dangerous species, humans, ridge runners, stone shells, and others. Dawn Walker stood beside Mike, her red skin gleaming under the lights. You fear us, Mike began simply. You look at our strong bodies, our aggressive ancestors, our ability to survive, and you see only threat. But strength doesn't have to mean violence. Capability doesn't have to mean conquest. The first speaker studied them with those large, dark eyes. Your species can hunt prey to exhaustion. Your bodies can regenerate from terrible wounds. Your minds can solve problems in ways that frighten us. How can such powers not lead to dominance? Because we choose. Lisa stepped forward. Every human chooses, every day, how to use their strength. We could hunt, instead we farm. We could fight, instead we build. We could dominate, instead we cooperate. Look at us, Dawn Walker gestured to the assembled representatives. You imprisoned us all, thinking you were protecting the galaxy. Instead, you drove us to create something beautiful. A coalition of the strong who want only to help, not harm. One by one, the quarantined species shared their stories. The stone shells, whose armored bodies could survive in space, wanted to help build stations in dangerous regions. The color-shifting beings dreamed of teaching their art of adaptation. Each species had gifts they yearned to share, not weapons they wished to wield. The council members listened, their expressions shifting from fear to uncertainty to something that looked like hope. "We don't deny what we are," Mike continued. "Humans are apex predators. We're strong, we're tough, we're relentless when we need to be. But we're also teachers, builders, healers, and explorers. We're not defined by what we can do, but by what we choose to do." The first speaker was silent for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, they laughed. A sound like tinkling crystal. "We thought we were caging monsters. Instead, we may have been imprisoning teachers." "The galaxy needs all of us," Anna said. "Your wisdom and caution, balanced with our strength and resilience. Not separation, but cooperation." The council members conferred quietly. Then the first speaker stepped forward. Perhaps it is time for the council to evolve. To learn that strength can serve peace, that predators can choose to protect. As the formal agreements were drawn up, ending the quarantines, establishing new partnerships, Mike looked around the chamber. Humans stood alongside aliens of all kinds, former prisoners now partners in a new future. They had proven that the most dangerous species in the galaxy could also be its greatest hope. Earth's quarantine would end, and humanity would join the galactic community not as caged predators, but as proven partners. They had shown the truth about humans, that being an apex predator meant having the power to choose peace, the strength to protect others, and the wisdom to know the difference. The stars would no longer fear humanity. They would welcome them.